Good afternoon and welcome to Jeff and the Rabbi. Good Yontov. Good holidays. Had some good holidays going on here. Done with Yom Kippur, on to Sukkot.
Yom Kippur is over. Unbelievable.
Well, I got to tell you, last night when you sent me the topic and the description of it, you really got me thinking. I have a new way, which for me, if you got me thinking, if starting off the new year, that's a pretty good thing for me. And, Sukkot, I've never thought of it this way, but now I'm thinking Sukkot, to me, is now the antidote to progressive society. That's what I got from what you sent me last night. I'm not sure that's what you meant, but that's what I got from it. So I'm thinking here, here we got this great society we live in. There's a great progressive society where you have a right to everything in our society today. You have a right to your health care. You have a right to your home. You have a right to a TV. You have a right to a cell phone. You have a right to be living in another country and feel like you want to move over, cross the border, come on in, we'll take you in, and you get free education because you have a right. You have a right to everything. You actually have a right to my stuff too. You have a right that you can come to the government, can come to my house, take 50% of whatever I own, and give it to you because you don't have as much things as I have. Mm-hmm. You got a right birth control. You got a right to a woman today. You have a right for me to pay for her birth control, and if she forgets to take it, she has a right for me to pay for her abortion too. So you got a lot of good rights here, and that's the society we live in. You got a right to take this little card and go into a store, an EBT card, and buy anything you want to eat. Brilliant. You don't have to go to college. You could go work at Burger King, and you might now have a right to $15 an hour because that's what a living wage is. You got all these rights, and then with all and even in school, by the way, just add in your school, you free education, free meals, free everything. You could do everything you want in school. You can have everything you want free in school as long as you don't do one thing in school and in the public view. Just don't mention God. You got a right to everything as long as you don't have a right to one thing, God. And here come these pesky Jews, and this is what I figured out about these Jews and why people maybe don't like us that well. We live in this perfect, progressive society. Then for 1 week a year, these pesky Jews go out there, build up some 2.5-walled, shaky little structure here that nobody helps them build. You get in, no roof. The thing's about to fall down. And they said, we don't need anything but one thing we're not allowed to have, God. That's it. So I'm saying here that we are the anti-progressive. That's why people don't like us. We got you everything. Just don't ask for God. You can have everything else in the world. And here we come out 1 week a year, say, we want nothing but God, and God's going to take care of us. You can't help us out, only God can. That's why no one likes us.
That's pretty good, because I said, let's talk about Sukkot. And in that, you heard an entire validation of everything that you believe.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yes.
Wow.
I thank you for that.
Yeah, like that. Right. How about Obama's foreign policy? I mean, certainly the existence of the sukkah brings that on.
Absolutely.
Mishandling.
Well, let me bring that up.
It is clear from the sukkah that Obama mishandled the whole ISIS thing, right?
Because what is, and I'm glad you brought that up, because what Obama's saying, Iranians can have nuclear weapons, but don't build a sukkah in Jerusalem, because if you do that, then you're
right. No sukkahs over the green line.
Right, over the green line. So that's what I'm
that would, he would flip out if Netanyahu would tell him that he authorized 100,000 new units to be built this week.
New dwellings.
This week only.
That could really that could be apoplectic.
Within 1 week, they're going to put up 100,000 new dwellings over the green line. It's amazing.
That could be the end of that.
That's pretty good. Yeah. But then, of course, Obama could say, I'm not going to stand for it. And they'll say, okay, we'll have him down within a week.
We'll take it down in a week. Everything will be okay.
Right.
We agree.
Right. So here's what what has occurred to me.
So I didn't get that right?
You are a student of history.
Yes.
You are as familiar as I am, and everyone, about this idea of the rise and fall of empires.
Absolutely.
Right? Countries, empires, there is a certain stage when they are bold and young and starting to flex their muscles. They grow. They start to conquer territory. They believe in themselves, and they believe that they have something to offer the world, actually. And they're not really conquering the world just because they want power. And they like power, of course, and they like wealth, of course. But most empires, the Romans, the Greeks, everyone, the United States, they believe the British. They believed they really had something to offer. The British didn't just want to conquer the world so they could be rich. They really believed that the British way of doing things was good. They believed that if India would function according to British norms, British parliamentary system, and British education, it'd be a better country. And so for Africa, and so for the whole world, right? That's what they believe in. And of course, along the way, of course, they extend their power and they make a lot of money, and that's true. No one's like turning down the money, that's for sure. United States also, and the United States still today wants to export democracy and everything. That's what we believe in. However, there comes a point in the life cycle of all empires when they hit a peak and they have become very wealthy, very successful. And at that point, they kind of lose their drive. And there's a little switch flips.
Right.
And the switch flips from wanting to gain more to wanting to hold on to what I have.
Okay.
I don't want to lose my position. I don't want to lose my status. I don't want to lose my wealth. I don't want to lose my comfort. Now, generally, in order to grow, you got to get out of your comfort zone. You got to get in a wagon and head west. And, you know, there are casualties along the way and deprivation. But if you work really hard, you can conquer territory and you make things happen. But, you know, after a while, people say, well, what do I need that for? I got so much at home. What I want really is I want an insurance policy. I don't want to lose what I have. And at that point, people become risk averse and big consumers of insurance. Now, you can't buy anything. I mean, you almost buy a stick of gum. They'll offer you, would you like to buy the full guarantee warranty on the stick of gum, right? And everything is warranted. In case something happens, we'll pay you back, and we'll even, you know, bring you a garbage can, to wastebasket to throw your bad gum in. So everything is now warranted. This idea that we don't want to get hurt, that I deserve everything that I have, I deserve to keep it all forever, and I really am not really even doing too much about making anything new. I just want to hang on to what I have. This, by the way, is the hallmark of foreign policy. Foreign policy is determined by casualties. We don't want to have casualties. We don't want to put boots on the ground because they can get hurt. We would like to bomb it from the air because that's safer, right? So we don't want to invade countries because that exposes us to danger. That's what happened to me. We got as far as we got. We conquered the World War II. We conquered evil, vanquished evil from Germany and Japan.
Right.
We then stood up against communism in Korea. And we were interested in doing the same in Vietnam, but by that point, we got kind of a little bit fat.
Right, yeah,
and people started thinking, like, what do I need that for? Like, do I really need to go fight and risk my life over there for a principle? I got a nice life here. I'd rather hang out at home. And of course, you got fat, and the next thing you do is you lose. And the same thing happened with Rome.
Yep.
Once the Romans went out, and they got a little too far extended, and then they got beat up bad by the barbarians, you know.
Right.
They retreated, and after they retreated, after a couple of losses, they never went outside of their safe little environment. And of course, their empire frayed at the edges, and then frayed more, and then frayed more, until pretty soon the Vandals were at the gates, and they couldn't hold them back.
Right.
So we are, and this is where we are in our society. It's where we have a litigious society, because everyone feels, I have a right for you not to hurt me. I have a right to everything. Everything is a granted right because, listen, we've gotten what we have. I deserve everything I have. I don't even have to work for it. Now, of course, Jewish law says you have an obligation not to hurt another person, and if you do hurt them, you have to compensate them. But to have rights for everything, every single thing, and that it is your job to make sure that I don't hurt myself. You know, your job, if the coffee is hot, is your job not to serve me the hot coffee, not my job to protect myself. There's this attitude of, you can't hurt me. No one's allowed to hurt me. And people are just getting soft and flat. Enter the sukkah.
Right.
Enter the sukkah. We sit here in the sukkah. When we're sitting in the sukkah, you know, if it's going to rain, that rain's just going to come right in.
No roof.
We were actually supposed to take all of our nice furniture out into the sukkah.
I didn't know that.
Yes. what if it rains? It'll wreck it. That's the point. We're supposed to expose ourselves. Expose ourselves to potential disaster.
Now, can you sue the sukkah maker, or you can't?
Yeah, right.
You can't do that?
They have to sue the rainmaker.
The rainmaker.
Whoever made that rain, you're gonna sue him, right? Sue the rainmaker. Now, you're gonna be able to buy a security system that's gonna protect your sukkah. Not gonna find it. You're gonna buy a weather protection system. No, can't get indoors. Where it's nice and secure.
Sounds like you got a problem then.
You got a problem. What you got to do is you got to go out into the sukkah, and for 1 week you say, God, I'm really in your hands. As big as this house is, as many security systems as I have, as many airbags as I have, passive restraints, active restraints, all type of stuff. I've got cameras on all sides of my car and cameras on all ends of my house, and I monitored everything, and I can stop at any moment and check out, make sure that my pet is happy by looking at him and the camera, and I've got everything under the sun, and I've got an FDA, and I've got OSHA, I've got all 1,000,001 agencies that are looking out for me to make sure that nothing could possibly go wrong, and if anything does go wrong, I'll sue. And guess what? Now I'm going to go out into the sukkah. And what's all that worth?
Nothing.
Zero. Absolutely zero. And I say, you know what? Even with FDA and even with OSHA and even with all the passive restraints and even with all the recalls and suing and lawsuits and everything like that, if I'm going to make it through today, it's God's going to get me through today.
Wow.
None of this other stuff is only God, God alone, and it gets a Jew to be grounded in reality. For 1 week, we live a reality week. And I've had situations where my wife makes beautiful meals. I've decorated the sukkah. It is so beautiful. You've got the hanging things and the pictures and the paintings, and it's all so lovely. And it's got the table out there with the beautiful tablecloth and all this luscious food. And it starts raining.
Been there every year. every year
it just starts raining. And then you go inside and you're looking at that sukkah, and the decorations are like drooping. The chains are falling down. The food is like now the whole thing is just not the way you wanted it to be, and not what you're looking forward to. Sometimes, but sometimes when it doesn't, we sit there in that sukkah, and we appreciate it so much. Thank you, God. Look what you gave us. We are kings. You feel royal sitting in your flimsy sukkah that could literally, a good gust of wind would take the thing out.
Yep.
It's a wonderful feeling. And it is really what our society needs, the big course correction. This is what we always see whenever there's a tornado. Yeah. It rips through town.
And then you realize,
everyone's out there. They're all helping and working, and you got what you got, and the one guy that's got little, some fresh water is like, and he's sharing, and such good feelings, because people are brought back to reality. They're brought back to reality. They say, I'm alive. Thank God. Might not have all this other stuff, down to like no channels on my cable.
Wow. Like down to 50 or something, even almost as bad.
Yeah, right.
50 channels left.
50 channels, unbelievable. Right. But people feel good because they're brought back in touch with reality. So we are lucky. No one wants to have to do a tornado, hurricane, any of that type of stuff. You don't like that. We like to do it scheduled, on the calendar, when we want, how we want it, where we want it. But it's in the calendar and it's scheduled. Get back to some basics. Then we feel good.
Maybe this is why, going back to what I was thinking about earlier, that maybe this is why Sukkot happens to be, at least the way I see it, one of the holidays that I think that secular Jews probably celebrate the least. I gotta be honest, growing up, we didn't have a sukkah at our house, and I didn't, we all knew what it was. We went to the temple, and one night we went in there and we ate in there, but I wouldn't think that most of my secular Jewish
friends... Was the sukkah outside?
I think it was, actually, I don't even know. It might not have been.
Someone told me about their temple, they put the sukkah up in the lobby.
totally possible. Totally possible. But we didn't have it. None of our friends, I mean, we didn't have any Jews where I grew up, and none of them had it. And I don't think most secular Jews celebrate this holiday. Maybe that's why. That's a tough thing you're asking people to do. I mean, no Obama phone? You mean no protection from anything there? And you want us to go out there and sit in a 2.5 walled, flimsy little thing there and just say God's going to take care of us?
Yeah, this is, Rabbi Emanuel Feldman tells this story that a congregant invited him over in his early years in Atlanta in the 50s. Congregant invited him over to see a sukkah. And went over to the lady's house. She took him around to the backyard, and there, sitting in the middle of the backyard, is a beautiful sukkah. He said, "This is really, really beautiful." She said, "Thank you so much. I'm very proud of it." He said, "Let me just ask you one question." She says, "Why'd you put it out there in the middle of the yard? Like, why didn't you put it closer to the house?" So she said, "Well, why did I put it closer to the house?" He says, "Well, you have to carry the food out there, isn't it? Like, why do you want to carry it all the way out there? You could put it right next to the house." So she said, "Why do you want to carry food out there?"
Well, that's a great question.
Well, to eat in the sukkah, you're supposed to eat in it?
Okay.
She thought you're just supposed to build one. She didn't know that you're actually supposed to live in it for a week. They didn't tell her about that.
That makes a difference.
Yeah. She never heard about that one.
Well, I got to tell you, I think it's one of the most underused holidays in the Jewish, not in the Orthodox community. I mean, right. Well, I mean, we walk around our neighborhood, there's a sukkah in every house, not in other places.
But really, I think it's this whole idea of the fact that, I'm supposed to be cared for. I deserve everything. Once I've reached a certain level, nothing really can go wrong. And there has to be an insurance policy. If it is, I want an insurance policy. If something does go wrong, someone has to fix it, because nothing can go wrong. And like you said, it's the same thing. I get to conduct myself however I want, and I have no negative repercussions. If I have a right to not become pregnant, and if I do become pregnant, I have a right to have that taken away from me, because it's not everything. I have a right for nothing to go wrong. And the Sukkah tells us, you know what? Stuff is going to go wrong, and you can't always blame someone else. Now you might say to me, "Oh, so you think people should just be able to go ahead and do whatever they want?" It's very interesting. I've lived in Israel, and in Israel, the attitude is totally the opposite. You got to watch out for yourself, because if something goes wrong, something happens to you, people can even be negligent, and you really have to watch out for yourself. They're all the way in the other direction. Very, very hard to ever win a lawsuit to prove that. Yeah, really difficult. And that's, it gets dangerous in the other direction. And, people can really get hurt. But, on the other hand, it's really interesting that it's a very industrious society there. They're accomplishing a lot. They're changing a lot. They're doing a lot. And they also have a lot of self-help organizations where people look out for other people. But the responsibility is on every person to take care of themselves. The responsibility is on other people to try to help people who are in need. And, of course, according to Torah law, there's a responsibility not to hurt anyone else. But not that the society tells you have to do it like this, but everyone's got to stop and say, could I hurt someone? It's very, very non-litigious. Insurance is not a big deal.
Wow.
In Israel, insurance is a very, very minor part of your income, and there's just not a lot of other responsibilities, a lot of personal responsibility. No rights, a lot of responsibilities.
See, it's interesting. It's obviously just the opposite here, but wouldn't then, if Sukkot was really practiced, at least in the Jewish community, but maybe even throughout our whole country, is it hard then to go back? Wouldn't you think it'd be hard to go back, a week later into the world where we're saying, okay, no, thanks God, you took care of us for a week, now we're going to go back in.
Right.
And
that's a really good point. That's a really good point. And the truth is, yes, Sukkot does not change people's lives, absolutely. Sukkot is a week long. It's a week long because you have to undergo a change. Anything you try to do until you've done it for a week. Guys say, I quit smoking. When did you quit? Oh, 15 minutes ago.
Right.
No, that doesn't count. Even an hour ago, even a day ago, even 2 days ago. 7 days, you got something
That's
going.
a start.
Once you've done something for 7 days, you created a new reality. And if I want to pick up on that and go with it, I can. And you know, like everything else, if I want to go back in the house and at the end of the holiday and just forget about it, sure, you can. The religion is there to help people who want to make changes, but it's no guarantees.
No guarantee. But it does seem to be, at least in my, again, as I said, it just doesn't seem to be where most Jews celebrate. I don't think they understand the concept of Sukkot. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just,
They don't know about it. People don't know about it. People don't understand it, and it's really sad because they're missing out on something really, really special. No.
So my question is, and again, and I get it, how it works for the Jews. How can we seem to be the people that go right back in there and get the progressive stuff right when we get back? We're done with Sukkot, and we got to make sure now everybody gets that guaranteed minimum wage, and we got to make sure they get that guaranteed health care.
Yeah.
Maybe shouldn't we say that maybe that we should be looking to something else to take care of us every day? Maybe we should be looking to God every day to take care of us.
People on both ends of the political spectrum and attitude will have a tendency to go back in their house right away and just, business as usual. If you want to get the message of Sukkot and take it and integrate it and make it something, it's there to be had. And the fact that we are, humbled and realize that we're in God's hands, He's taking care of me and you and everybody.
Right.
If we want to get that message, we can. And if we want to ignore it, it's also easily ignorable, like all things.
But did God tell us to build a sukkah so we can show who we need to depend on life? Was that the purpose?
We're supposed to live in the words of the Zohar and Kabbalistic thought. We sit in the shade of faith,
and that's the reason we do this.
That's it. To sit in the shade of faith, and the faith is that God's sheltering me and nothing else.
And is that a coincidence? It happens right after Yom Kippur, or is that just because the fruits of the field were ready then, or is that why it happened?
So there's a great midrash. Midrash is a story of our tradition, and it says as follows: two people, you go in to fight, to the contest, and when it's all said and done, who's the winner? Who's the winner of any contest? The guy that's jumping on the field like that, upraised, hands raised up. In hockey, when you score a goal, you put up your stick, and that's the way it is. The ones that are upraised, that's the winner. So we went into Yom Kippur. We were struggling in there. Are we going to make it? Are we not going to make it? Is God going to accept our prayers? Is God going to not accept our prayers? And we come out in Sukkot, we take our lulav and esrog, we hold them up and wave them. The one that's waving the lulav and esrog, that is the winner. The winning team has got their lulav and esrog raised. And that is where we have Sukkot. So we know Sukkot really is a celebration that we had a great and successful Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur season.
And then you go right into the Simchas Torah and just really
Simchas Torah, dance it up, and then shut it down for the winter. It's going to get cold outside, and we go huddling back into our houses. But Sukkot is the celebration of success, and we feel confident that we were successful and that we made it.
Wow.
Everything went well.
So this is one here, again, I know everybody, you're holidayed out here, but this is one you really need to, it's one more week, and this one seems like an important one here.
Yeah, can you imagine? You go through the whole season, and you did all the sacrifice, all the hard work and everything, and they win. Okay, great. Well, let's go home. No, you want to take some time to really enjoy yourself, and that's what it is.
Let's go out and turn over some buses. No, we don't do that. We got to get on the streets.
That's right.
That's pretty much what Sukkot is like in Brooklyn and in Israel.
It's a big party, and they have in Jerusalem, in Brooklyn, a lot of places, they have parties that go on all night with lots of singing and dancing. And they have bands that play, and it's really, really very festive. And it's a big, huge celebration.
That seems to be the way you should wrap up the holidays right there.
That's right.
Wow. All right, well, that makes sense. All right, so, get a little God in your life here.
Right. So the next time we're thinking about, suing, and the next time thinking about what I deserve and what I should have, and the next time we're thinking about just holding on to everything we have, you know what? If God wants you to have it, you're going to have it. And if God wants to take it away from you, there's no amount of insurance policies, and there's no amount of airbags that are going to protect you. Ultimately, God's going to protect you, or God's not going to protect you, and that's the way it is.
It's a great way to live your life. All right. Well, I guess maybe next week, Simcha store. I don't know. Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll be back.
Okay.
Have a good week. Have a good Sukkot.